through the apex of Brooklyn's corner. Gupta then sets a provisional pole time of a 1:26.9. Pole position, or at least the qualifying king award of the 2021 British Grand Prix set by Lewis Hamilton, was a 1:26.1. So we've still got a little bit if we're going to challenge that lap time. But here comes Connor round the final few corners. Seems like Gupta's time has stood the test of time so far. Hydrant's Connor and Grace Warrior are over a second behind him. Revokes then. Is he able to slot his AlphaTauri onto the front row? He is. He's half a second behind Gupta, but with just under 10 minutes left, could Gupta have a competitor in this qualifying session? The Alpine driver has been utterly marvellous when it comes to one-lap pace, and he has shown why he is a championship threat to Matzuvo, who by 1 millisecond slots in behind his teammates. Horridby then crosses the line for P4. Hydrant, who has started from pole twice this season, he has failed to win in Tier 1. But for Williams, at their home vents, could things be about to change for him? He rounds club corner, and it is indeed P4 for Hydrant. He displaces Horridby. He leaps up to the second row on the grid. Connor now is on a lap. So too is Anthony. The Haas driver making his debut here at Silverstone in PFL. He is going to want to give it absolutely everything. It's a treat. It's just a treat to see these cars winding through the corners of Silverstone. Anthony wants to give it full beans and wants to exercise his potential here at Silverstone. Through the first couple of sectors, he is in relatively competitive running, but he's going to approach Stowe Corner now at speeds excess of 200 miles per hour. Then it's Chapel. Matzuvo is now out of the session. I'd assume he's come into the garage, and I'd assume he hasn't actually crashed. But Hydrant through the first two sectors, this has not been the lap that he would have wished for. He currently sits in P4 on the second row of the grid, but he's not finding the improvement that others around him are. Through club corner. Now all we lose is the rear Hydrant. He manages to keep it pointing in the right direction, but his lap came to no improvement. Gupta though, finding even more time through the middle sector. Revokes through the middle sector as well. He's finding 2/10, but the stage is Gupta's. That Alpine has been a blur through every single corner of Silverstone. He heads this qualifying session by 8.5 tenths. He's been on pole before in PFL, and he's surely going to be on pole again by nearly a second. A second, he is on pole position as Revokes, hunting for more lap time, goes for a spin through club corner. But it is Gupta, Lil Gupta, who has demonstrated his supreme, prodigious speed once more. Nobody could catch him. Nobody was even in sight of him. And Gupta, for the British Grand Prix, will lead the pack. And this is where championships are won and lost. Gupta starts this race from pole position. He will hope to lead the pack into Abbey Corner, but he has the heavens to fend off. He has the chasing pack to fend off. But boy, we are ready for what should be an epic race here at Silverstone. And here at the British Grand Prix, we are underway. Who can get the best start off the line? It looks like Revokes is going to give Gupta something to question, but Matzuvo is going to leap up into the lead. Matzuvo has absolutely aced the start in treacherous conditions, and we've had a crash. We've had multiple crashes and spins through the pack. That's Anthony, Eisen Sint and Horridby all coming at Cropper, but Matzuvo leapt off the line. He rocketed into the lead, and Gupta's dominance in qualifying is being questioned, but Matzuvo not getting the best exit through the loop section, and Gupta steals back the lead. Brilliant racing between the two championship rivals. The AlphaTauri looks to the inside of Brooklands. He is not able to make an impression. But wow, what a start. Drama from the opening meters of this race. And while it seemed that Matt had the initiative, Gupta stole it back. Absolutely fantastic racing. The Alpine leads into Copse Corner ahead of the AlphaTauri of Matzuvo. Revokes in third, Theo in fourth, Hydrant in fifth. But let's see how the Williams comes back at Theo. The Ferrari really struggling on traction, and Hydrant has a plausible chance to get past. He's going to utilise the slipstream on towards Brooklands, but Theo just about holds that position as Grace Warrior and Connor ignite in battle. Grace Warrior takes the racing line. He forces Connor out of it. And it's a Ferrari still preserving that sixth, but Theo goes wide. And then Revoke spins as well. It's who can get the best exit off of the loop section. One of those is not Dummis Basket. He's dropped down into ninth after a minor excursion. And he drops behind Revoked and Eisen Sit as well. He's down into 12th. So then, Theo ahead of Horridby, but for how much longer is that going to stay true? Maybe for not too much longer, because Horridby gets the better exit off of Luffield. Down the old start-finish straight, the Red Bull surges ahead of Theo and promotes himself up into sixth, but gets a bit leery off of the exit of Copse Corner, and Theo says thank you very much. Horridby thought he had the move sorted, but a moment of misfortune off of the exit of Copse presented the opportunity for Theo to steal that sixth place back. And this could be a bold and brilliant strategy for the McLaren. Oh, Horridby looking to take the position off of Theo. The Ferrari preserves the places. Connor takes a place on Grace Warrior. Grace Warrior fights back, but Theo on towards Brooklands. Horridby wants to take the place, but he isn't able to get past at the moment. But as they lay down the throttle off the exit of Luffield, the Red Bull progresses, advances ahead of the Ferrari. If he is to really bring himself back into play, it seems like the intermediate tyres are the preferred choice now. The track is noticeably dried, but who chooses this moment to perfection? It seems like Hydrant is going to stay out on the track as Grace Warrior and Connor pit, like Gupta and Matzuvo. And it's the choice by the majority then. They have their trust on the intermediate tyres, but is it going to pay off handsomely? Horridby down the straight ahead of Theo, but where are Gupta and Matzuvo going to come back out onto the track? Gupta, he's going to be behind Revokes. So then, as he looks to preserve a place ahead of one, he's going to have to hunt down another. But on the fresher and more suitable intermediate tyres, this may be easy picking for Gupta, who looks to the outside of the loop section. That is an audacious move, but is it going to pay off handsomely for the Alpine? It looks like that is going to be the case. Revoked does not want to concede in this battle, but as Gupta sweeps around the outside of Brooklands, it's a masterful move, utilising the potential in his intermediate tyres. That was absolutely brilliant, and you can see the tyres that he wants to be on, they are the intermediates. Looks like he's going to progress a pit stop ahead of him, and round the outside of Chapel, he makes that move stick. It looks like they have timed the switch of the intermediate tyres to absolute perfection. Horridby and between Grace Warrior and Connor. Hydrant just about re-emerges in P3, but Grace Warrior is giving him something to think about. It's a three-way battle for third. Keys Board still out on the wet tyres. So then the Haas driver placing his faith on perhaps a safety car, but it's an audacious strategy, and you can see it's really costing him through the exits of the loop section. He gives Horridby a tap, and Eisen Sit, who gets past the Haas, now wants to make it 2 places in a matter of moments. They're racing on towards Brooklands, the Aston Martin. Around the outside, is he able to make it stick? No, he isn't. The Red Bull is just about going to hold the racing line. But it's pedal to the metal off of the exit of Luffield. And Horridby struggles off of the apex. The Aston Martin spotting the tiniest of gaps to surge past the Red Bull and up into 7th place. Revokes, what an exit off Stowe corner. He looks for a gap down the inside of Vale. Can he assert his presence on the brakes? He can't. Dumbest Basket keeps him at arm's length, but as they put down the power off of the exit of the Vale chicane, the AlphaTauri progresses past. Some contact between the pair. Revokes does not mind that one bit. He's back up into the points, and he will want to really assert his place back in the points after starting from second. It is now a race revive, which is started by getting past the Red Bull. Theo going for a venture off-road. Revokes and Dumbest Basket blitz past him, and the Ferrari drops down into 11th. And here comes Connor on towards Copse corner. He's going to chance a move around the outside. There's contact between the pair. Is the Alfa Romeo going to make it stick? He is. It was bold in its bravado, but it was gripped by aggression. And it has granted Connor a grand, glitzy, glorious move ahead of Grace Warrior. Connor has just rejoined the session, but will re-emerge behind Anthony, who at the last moment there passed the Alfa Romeo, but they're going to go side by side into Abbey. Oh, there's contact, and Connor goes for a spin. You could not have foreseen a more horrid last few laps for Connor, who's going to get passed by Revokes as well, the AlphaTauri, up into P8. And Connor making contact there with Anthony on towards Abbey corner, and 2 into 1 did not just go. Revokes ignited in battle with Connor. The Alfa Romeo looking to gain some positions in this race. He's going to look to the outside of Brooklands. He's going to brave it out. But Revokes holding that 8th place. But how does the Alfa Romeo fare on exit? Quite well, actually. He has a plausible chance of getting past into Copse corner. He's made contact with the driver already on this lap. He's going to look to the outside of Copse. He then puts down the power off of exit. That brings him a chance on towards Maggots and Beckett's. He is not surely going to chance a move into Maggots and Beckett's. He sensibly backs out of that move, but Dumbest Basket is lurking in the distance and wants a piece of the action. Oh, you can see that Connor and Dumbest Basket encountering problems off of the exit of Luffield. Connor has exited this race. It looks like he has found the wall. And we have lost our first driver in this race. The yellow flags have been brought out by the corner. And you can see Grace Warrior is really struggling. Anthony, in his debut race in PFL, is revelling in the conditions. Matzuvo is going to, I think he's going to pit to the dry tyres. So, could he absolutely master the latest of challenges that Gupta faces? But Grace Warrior defending from the Haas of Anthony, but that defence is going to yield, I was going to say absolutely nothing, and it is nothing, because the Haas sweeps around the outside of Stowe. And that's a marvellous move as Grace Warrior now dives into the pits. Has the time come? Has the time come for dry tyres? If you get this right, you could win heaps of time. You could lose heaps of time. Wow, another layer of intrigue is to be invested here at Silverstone. Matzuvo exiting the pits. Let's see if this works. You can see Anthony giving him a tap there, and it seems like the intermediate tyres are still the way to go. Matt drops down into 4th, and he's really struggling on exit. He chanced to move to the dry tyres, and he has lost out horridly. So Eisensitz is going to come out on track and God, he's going to be side by side with Horridby. The Red Bull just about ahead, but the Aston Martin is on younger tyres. He gets very close there to the Red Bull through the loop section, and he may pose a threat. DRS, of course, has now been enabled, but it may take a little bit of time for the dry tyres to get up to temperature. Gupta still out on track. He's braving it out still on the intermediate tyres. Oh, and now Grace Worry as well, going for a spin as well. He may have just damaged his front wing. No, he hasn't. He has severely damaged his tyres. As Theo and Dumbest Basket going side by side into Maggots and Beckett's. It was perilously close to cataclysmic contact, but the Ferrari surges past and now occupies 8th place with Dumbest Basket. He's not going to lose sight of that 8th place for too much longer. He's going to look to the inside of Stowe Corner, side by side into one of the most glorious corners in the world. But Theo, with glorious racecraft in his arsenal, manages to keep Dumbest Basket at bay. This race has been testament to the peerless skill of our PFL drivers, but now it is Eisensitz's turn to test the skill of his racecraft. He darts down the inside of Stowe Corner, but Revokes around the outside. Incredibly committed, and he keeps the Aston Martin at bay. So then, Revokes v Eisensitz, round 2. What a terrific battle brewing here between these two. The Aston Martin has an interest of P6. He's going to look to the outside of Brooklands. It looks like there was a bit of contact, but they're still going in side by side. While Revokes earns himself a time penalty, Eisensitz is going to steal the place ahead of him. And he promotes himself then up into 6th place. He wants to assume the place ahead of the Aston Martin as soon as is humanly possible. And with the aid of DRS, he runs side by side with the Aston Martin and he blasts ahead going into Stowe Corner. The P5 is now going to be relinquished as Revokes with DRS on towards Brooklands assumes the place, but Horridby coming back. They're going side by side. Horridby does not want to lose more than that he already has lost on this lap. They're going side by side again through Luffield and on towards Woodcote. Neither are willing to yield, neither are willing to compromise, but Horridby around the outside of Cox. And as he keeps it on the track, he wants to keep Revokes at arm's length still. They're going to continue this battle on towards Maggots and Beckett's, with Revokes progressing ahead. And all this contact between the pair. It was marvellous racing, but it reached boiling point through Maggots and Beckett's, with them both going for a spin and dropping down the pack. Now Theo has an interest of 5th place on towards Stowe Corner. The Aston Martin manages to keep him at bay, but the Ferrari is going to look to the inside of the Vale chicane, and still the Aston Martin emerges ahead. The sunny Silverstone has now taken over the stage, but Gupta, as he rounds Club Corner, there really is no place like home for the Alpine driver. He wins the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, and he excelled in the most tough testing and taxing of conditions. He's going to win comfortably ahead of Hydrant. Matzuvo will come home in 3rd place, and it's going to be a change of the championship lead. Just 2 races to go. Gupta has the initiative. And as he carries his steering wheel onto the podium, like I said, there is just no place like home for Gupta. He lifts the trophy, soaks the champagne, or soaks himself in champagne, and he is now your championship leader.